Alright, this is Fantasy Football in 5, and we are back for another week. This will be the Week 10 recap. Last week was Week 9. So if you haven't seen last week's video, please check that below. It'll be just me this week. Taylor's out with, he's visiting his family for Thanksgiving, so stay tuned. Alright, so this week's list of studs begins with 3 Steelers. Big Ben, Martavis Bryant, and Antonio Brown. Jeremy Langford, Zach Miller, Sharkandrick West, Matt Jones, Adrian Peterson, Kirk Cousins, Rob Gronkowski, Michael Floyd, and Carson Palmer. Now, Jeremy Langford went off this week in a Monday night game. He had a total of 182 yards and 2 touchdowns, so it was a great outing for him, and he proved as a solid backup to Matt Forte. Kirk Cousins, Washington's quarterback, had a terrific outing. He had 4 touchdowns and 324 passing yards on 20 of 25 completions. So a very, very good outing for him in actually a really good win for the Redskins. So list of dud this week begins with Jeremy Hill, Willie Snead, AJ Green, Brandon McManus, Peyton Manning, CJ Anderson, Jordan Cameron, Andy Dalton, Tyler Eifert, the Denver defense, and Sammy Watkins. Now Willie Snead had a terrible week this week. He has been pretty good in the past few weeks. He has the most receiving yards on the Saints so far this season, even more than Brandon Cooks. But he had 0 receptions this week, so a terrible outing for him, and a bad week for fantasy owners if you had them in your starting lineup. The list of injuries this week begins with Victor Cruz. He is out for the season. He hasn't played yet this season, but he was questionable for a couple of weeks, and now he'll have season-ending surgery. So, bad news for him and the Giants. These guys are questionable. John Brown, Michael Floyd, Carlos Williams, Matt Forte, Alshon Jeffrey, Owen Daniels, Emmanuel Sanders, Malcolm Floyd, Marshawn Lynch, Doug Baldwin, Vincent Jackson, and these guys are out. Carlos Hyde, Brian Hoyer, Peyton Manning, Eddie Royal, Ryan Matthews, and Sam Bradford. John Brown has been questionable for the past few weeks and hasn't performed very well, but since Floyd is out and less healthy than Brown, I expect Brown to get a bigger role this week, but I wouldn't start him quite yet. And Peyton Manning, as I mentioned before, is out. He'll be replaced by Brock Osweiler. There's big hopes and aspirations for Osweiler as he's been nurtured through his young career. So expect a decent week from him, but not a maybe Tom Brady-esque week. Okay, so we have a lot of news to cover this week in the NFL. We'll start off in New Orleans. The Saints fired defensive coordinator Rob Ryan, and you can see why, because they have the league's worst defense, and they're on pace to allow the most passing touchdowns ever. Redskins outside linebacker Junior Galette is suspended 2 games for alleged domestic violence incident in January. Landry Jones has a pretty severe low ankle sprain that happened in the first quarter of the Steelers and Browns game when Ben took over. So Michael Vick will be returning as a backup in Week 12 following the Steelers' bye week this week. Tony Romo will be activated off the short-term IR and will play Sunday against Miami. So fantastic news for Cowboys fans and fantasy owners of maybe Des Bryant. The Cowboys have gone 0-7 without him, and their offense has been miserable. The Rams named quarterback Case Keenum starter over a healthy Nick Foles, but Nick Foles hasn't really played to his full potential, and neither have the Rams as a team. The Browns will start Johnny Manziel over Josh McCown for the rest of the year, which is pretty significant because they know the inconsistency with Manziel, but he had a career week last week, almost 400 total yards, or maybe even more, so a great week for him, even though they lost. The Giants signed wide receiver Hakeem Nicks in response to Victor Cruz being out for the season. This is his second stint with the team. If you remember, he won a couple Super Bowls with them. He was with the Colts, but now he's rejoining G-Men. Some waiver wire pickups you should consider this week. We can start with Jeremy Langford, Danny Amendola, Derek Carr, Sharkandrick West, and Kamar Aiken. Now, Danny Amendola will be a very hot pickup this week because Julian Edelman is out for the season with a foot injury. So if you have a high waiver order, make sure you put it in for Amendola, especially if you need a wide receiver. Tom Brady loves to utilize all of his weapons, so Amendola will be progressively getting better fantasy-wise throughout the remainder of the season. And the 4 teams on a bye this week: the Giants, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Saints. So if you have any of those guys on those teams in your lineup, make sure to take them out. This is Fantasy Football in 5. Thank you for watching. We deliver all your fantasies in 5 minutes or less because who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic? This is our Week 10 recap. Next week will be Week 11, so stay tuned for that and don't forget to subscribe. Our fantasy team, we lost this week. Our team performed pretty badly, and they dropped us to 4 and 6. But all we need is one more win to secure a playoff berth, so hopefully we can achieve that sooner than later. So wish us luck this week, and stay tuned for next week.